Live from the 607 is the ODPH Entertainment Edition, where we're talking movies, comics, TV, and more. Why don't you join in the conversation? Hashtag ODPH, because here we go. And welcome to another edition of the ODPH Entertainment Edition. I'm your host, Ken M. Sitting across from me this week is the one and only intern himself, Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Folks, we have a lot to discuss, so let's waste no more time. Hashtag ODPHEE if you're doing the social media talk with us, because we want to hear from you. The biggest story of the week had to be the debut at the box office of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Is it the biggest or is it the smallest?
It depends what you want to look at it. I think it earned a respectable $76 million domestically, which is nothing to sneeze at by far. I mean, it's Marvel, so you knew it was going to be a hit at the box office.
Say it's 3 Marvel movies within like the first half of the year.
Yeah. So is it oversaturation? Is it not?
Maybe a little bit.
You can debate about it. But as you know, we do talk spoilers on the show. So we've given you the warning in 3, 2, 1, let's talk. So what was your thoughts on the movie, Pad?
I loved it. It was a solid sequel to the first Ant-Man that built well off of what had happened in both Ant-Man 1 and then Captain America Civil War. And it added some stuff to it and added some depth and layers to the characters.
I agree. I thought for a sequel, it definitely did its part of continuing the story of Scott Lang. Ant-Man number 2, if you're into the comics, and his story of, now he is thrown into the hero role reluctantly, but like I said on last week's show, he's the hero that we didn't think we needed, but he is the one that we're very happy we have. But he definitely came back to the box office very strong, and now we've fast-forwarded 2 years since Civil War in the MCU timeline.
Yep.
And he's under house arrest and really is not in good graces with Hank Pym and his daughter Hope Van Dyne.
No, they're a little mad, to say the least.
Yes, because of his involvement in Captain America Civil War.
I don't think it's so much his involvement. It's just he went and didn't tell them until, they saw his face plastered over every news station on the planet.
Well, obviously, with the fallout from Civil War, they've now become technically criminals under the new
Sokovia Accords.
Yes, thank you, because I was going to say the Registration Act from the comics, but I know it's not that. So, obviously, he's under house arrest. No more Ant-Man for him, but there are reasons that he's getting brought back into the fold.
Well, and it's almost weird because he seems content with his new life. He sees his daughter, I presume, every weekend or every other weekend. Other than that, he's kind of just chilling at home. I mean, there's one point in the movie when Hope goes to break him out, and they've got a giant ant there simulating his every movement with the ankle bracelet. And they're like, oh, no, yeah, we've got your daily routine matched perfectly. It's almost like he's content with his new life.
Well, he's always been a reluctant hero. And I don't think that he is somebody that with great powers comes great responsibility a la Spider-Man.
No.
He is somebody that was thrusted into the role and is now trying to tread water and find his place in it.
Yeah, in a world where there are folks that he has seen that are a lot stronger than he is. I mean, he's a guy who can grow and can shrink and can hit you fairly hard. But when you have folks in the universe who can throw hammers and summon lightning and, unlimited strength, you kind of feel like a small fish in a large ocean.
Definitely is. And for him, it's just finding his place. And obviously, we say there is something that brings him back into the fold, albeit when he spent his time in the quantum realm of Ant-Man number 1 there. He has now made a connection to Janet Van Dyne, the original Wasp. And there is now a reason to believe that she is still alive after being presumed dead in the original Ant-Man movie. So now she is kind of using him to be a psychic anchor, so to speak. I
think she was just using him as a way, because you got to figure, other than when she went into that portion of the universe, nobody else has gone in there.
No,
it's
that we know of
that we know of. So it's the first person. He was the first person in 30 years to go in there, and with her soaking up the energy, as was mentioned in the movie, for 30 years, she would have known he was in there and gone, hey, fun as this is, I want to get out of here. I got a family who's still alive and a family who presumes I'm dead. So, hey, here's my opportunity.
And it was very interesting to see how it was played out, because the quantum realm has been heavily mentioned if you read a lot of blogs lately, if you are reading, quote unquote insiders, so to speak. a lot of talk is saying how this is going to tie into the next phase of the MCU. It's still to be seen, but going with this became the major driving point of the movie. And going with that, we also were introduced to the new Ghost, who I thought, for a Marvel villain, they really explained her character very well.
Yeah.
Hannah John Kamen, who played Ghost, I thought did a very good job in the role, because Ghost, unless you're really into Iron Man comics, or more recently Thunderbolts, you really don't know a lot about the character, other than it's just more corporate espionage.
Right, and she was brought in rather brilliantly. I mean, you've got Hope trying to get this piece to build the quantum portal or whatever it is it's called, and she's trying to broker the deal with this black arms dealer, black whatever dealer, and Ghost shows up and just kind of steals the thing. So it's kind of playing off like some corporate, somebody else knows what you're into and is looking to get it from you. But then and she's got these crazy powers. So it looks like she can phase through things. And she's got this crazy looking suit on that looks like something out of a video game. And then you come to find out, oh, yeah, no, this isn't the suit giving her the powers. This is her everyday life.
Yeah, which I thought they did a great job explaining her backstory, gave her something that the audience could empathize with. Mm-hmm. And you usually don't see too much of that with Marvel in their movie universe.
And especially the villains. I mean, there's the one scene in the movie after her father and mother die because her father tries to build his own quantum portal rather hurriedly and rather badly, and it explodes and giving her the powers. And there's the scene where I think that was in Brazil someplace or South America someplace, and there's the scene where the firefighters show up, and because it's a rather large explosion, so the firefighters show up and they see her amongst the rubble, and they're just shocked that she survived. And they go up to her and they try to like pick her up to take her out and carry her, and the one firefighter bends down to pick her up, and his hands just go straight through her.
Well, there's a connection to S.H.I.E.L.D. as well.
Yep.
That they've lightly touched upon, that Ghost's dad was somebody that worked with Hank Pym in S.H.I.E.L.D. and Bill Foster, who we were introduced to, played by Lawrence Fishburne as Goliath. And there's a connection that they're all doing quantum physics work involved in, that somehow Ghost's dad was taking the experiment too far, and Hank Pym was blamed for his firing from S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
That you already built your story in there.
I feel like there's a lot more with that story There's a lot with that story that's missing, and I feel it's deliberately so.
It could be. I mean, they could be playing it up for the third movie if they decide to go that route with Ant-Man. I'm not really sure where they could go with it, but it's not to say that they don't have ideas already. But that is the main driving point for the movie, that Ghost is trying to heal herself.
Let's say, because what is it? It says I forget the exact number, but what her condition does, it like rearranges her cells at a molecular level like an absurd number of times every single day.
Yeah, it tears her apart and puts her back together, and is extremely painful and killing her.
Yeah.
So obviously she's trying to save herself. Hank Pym is trying to save his wife. And Scott Lang is just kind of caught in the middle of trying to redeem himself to Hank Pym and Hope, because he let them down because of his actions. It really made for a good story. I thought that this was the most Disneyized movie we have seen of the MCU, with its humor.
I mean, it is Scott Lang, and the first one kind of established the humor.
Right, but this one went, I want to say, in more of a humorous direction, in my opinion.
I mean, when you're coming off of literally half of the MCU hero dying.
No, but even so, I just think that the character, they really play up to his humorous background. And I think, and obviously you have to with a character named Ant-Man.
Let's say the movie starts out, he's playing like Rob the whatever with his daughter, and he's getting help from the quote-unquote ants, and then they escape by sliding down the back steps of his house, and his foot goes through the fence, and the FBI shows up to make sure he hadn't left the house.
Yeah, and it made sense. It just really played up to the point that he's really trying to establish the connection with his daughter, and how she plays out being the focal point for him to be a hero again.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a nice element to the story. And like I said, I thought it was very lighthearted. I thought the action scenes are very good. The CGI, especially when you're dealing with shrinking and growing, as you'll see in the movie, they really made a point to nail that. And I thought how they used the Pym particles, I thought was very creative.
Yeah, I thought the one fight scene where it was Hope in the kitchen fighting off the thugs when the arms deal or whatever she was trying to get off went sideways fast, and they start throwing knives at her, and she's shrunk down and running slow motion along the sides of knives. I was like, all right, that's really cool.
Yeah, I thought that they did a very good job establishing the Wasp as a major character. Not so much of just in the Ant-Man movie, but I think in the MCU in general. And I definitely see her joining the Avengers at some point.
Yeah, because there's one point where they bring up what happened in Germany, and it's not in a we're angry at you kind of way. You know, she kind of goes, listen, if I was with you in Germany, you wouldn't have gotten caught.
Yeah, and I think that made perfect sense, too, because her character is I don't want to say polar opposite of Ant-Man, but she is more serious. She is more focused.
She's the yin to his yang.
Yeah, and I think it just plays off each other very well. So as the movie is progressing, you obviously see that they do rescue Hope Van Dyne, Janet Van Dyne, and bring her back. Albeit, though, there's a lot of question marks to be had.
Deliberately so.
Yes, because we think heals Ghost.
She does something.
Something happens.
It's not quite clear.
No, it isn't. And I think it just kind of leaves up to the realm of the quantum realm's abilities and what happens there.
And how she was in there for, what did they say, 30 years?
30
Soaking
years.
up the energy.
So there's just a lot more questions brought up about the realm that we definitely need to get some answers for. I do have a theory, which I'm going to go over next segment about it, but I guess in general, Ant-Man and the Wasp was a great sequel. I mean, is it going to up there in the quality of, let's say, Black Panther? No. Winter Soldier? No. But it's a fun movie. It's a very Disneyized.
It's top of a different list. If it's top of a list, if you're just looking for a fun movie to watch, you don't need anything too serious. It's a hot summer day. You're looking for something to watch, but you don't want to get too deeply invested in it. It's one you can throw on.
It definitely is. It's nothing to say it's a bad movie. When I keep saying it's Disneyized, it's just very funny, and it plays up to the humor of Paul Rudd, who plays Ant-Man.
So you're not saying it in a negative way. You're just saying that the humor is there.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely there. It's entertaining. It's what you really...
So the entire scene with Luis and the quote-unquote truth serum.
Yes.
Which there's now an online semi-sort of movement to get him to summarize the entire MCU timeline. Which I'm all for.
Michael Pena and T.I. and as the ex-con group that is working with Scott Lang for his business, I mean, they steal the movie when they're in it.
That entire, of course, Luis gets injected with true serum. It's not true serum. It's true serum. It's not true, And then he goes through and summarizes his entire relationship with Scott Lang. And I saw this online, so I can't take credit for this. But there's a lot of people who want to see Luis summarize the entire MCU timeline, and I count myself among those folks because that would just be a riot.
I mean, there's just so many funny moments, and like I said, his character just adds to the movie in itself. And
there's a twist at the end after the final battle where the arms dealer who's been chasing after the Pims the entire movie, and they're sitting down they're not, I don't even think they were tied up against the car. When the cops show up, they're just sitting there, and they're like, oh, we've done so many horrible things. We've done awful things. And the one head arms dealer's like, yeah, I've had so many health code violations at my restaurant. Your stomachs would turn. Some of them are really bad. It was like, oh, wait a minute. They gave him extra truth serum.
Yeah, and I thought it was a very nice play off of the hero aspect coming out in his team, too. Because they definitely added a point to the movie that I think could definitely be needed. That it was just... okay, there's so much was focused on the relationship between Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne, Paul Rudd, and Evangeline Lilly, that I thought that adding those guys and really making them a prominent role, because they did tie into the story very well.
Yeah.
That I thought it just really added to the movie. And it was just a fun movie. The bonus scenes,
oh boy,
definitely you need to see Avengers Infinity War before you watch them, because otherwise you're going to be lost.
A little bit.
And definitely raises some questions, too, because the one thing, and like I said previously, you're seeing a lot get mentioned about the quantum realm.
Mm-hmm.
That with the bonus scene, and like we said, we do talk spoilers, so 3, 2, 1. Scott Lang is now trapped in the quantum realm because of the infamous snap of the fingers of Thanos, who takes out Hope Van Dyne, Janet Van Dyne, and Hank Pym.
Yeah, it was one of those moments where... he was in there and he's waiting to get bailed out, and then there was radio silence, and there was a collective in our theater, oh, blank.
Yes, because now the question is, what happens to Ant-Man moving forward in the timeline? Is he going to be trapped in there for how long? Is this going to be another thing where time could be irrelevant in the quantum realm? I mean, nothing's really been figured out per se.
That was the one thing I was curious about when they were going to get the mother out of there. It was like, it was just something that it wasn't integral, but it was kind of in the back of my mind. I'm like, all right, how old is she going to be? Is time going to work the same way there that it would here? Turns out it did, but It's interesting to think.
It did thus far, but like I said, I have some more questions I want to talk about involving that and a couple Easter egg things I think I might have figured out. So
Okay.
why don't we take a quick break? Hashtag ODPHEE. What is your thoughts on Ant-Man and the Wasp? We want to know. We'll be right back.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince the Common Man Ciatoy, local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
We knew right where we'd be, floating on the airwaves, you see. It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward and no steps back. We knew right where we'd be.
Coming back for the second segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition, and we are talking Ant-Man and the Wasp spoilers. And one thing that I picked up from this, especially with the ending and how much they were tying into the quantum realm, is there was a line that Janet Van Dyne, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, said while she was in the quantum realm.
Mm-hmm.
And she started really talking about how she's not the same person. She is now evolved.
Which on the surface, that makes sense.
On the surface, yes.
I mean, you're in some place like that for 30 some odd years. You're not going to be the same person.
You're definitely not. And I guess there was a couple ways I'm looking at it because she came back with powers that
Right.
we don't know the Wasp having.
Yeah, we didn't know she had them, and we've only seen one thing, so who's to know how far they go?
Right. We've only seen one thing thus far, and that's when she touches Ghost and heals her to what we think she heals her. We're not sure because as they're doing more tests in the quantum realm, it sounds like whatever she did to help heal her isn't holding up or is maybe not working as well.
I was thinking more along the lines it's not permanent.
It could not be. I mean,
because as we know, time is not an infinite thing. It will eventually run out. So thereby, the powers are not infinite. They will run out eventually.
And right, as far as we know, Ghost is still running with Goliath, played by Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, where they are, we don't know.
Where they are, we're not sure. And what degree that they're now working together with Hank Pym's team, we don't know. But the thing that I thought was just more striking is when she's starting to talk about evolution and how she is now evolved. And I guess the popular theory was, okay, what is she now? Because she's not the same person.
No.
And when I heard it, I immediately said, she is a Skrull.
Right.
I went into full my own ODPH told theory of just, I'm thinking, okay, she is now in there. She now has powers. I don't think she is a mutant by any means because they don't have the rights. Marvel does not when this movie is written.
They can't say the M word.
They cannot say it. Now, did they leave the door open for it?
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
if you really want to stretch it, but I can't see that happening. I think the direction they're going to now take is that she is a Skrull, and the next big Avengers 5, I guess you could say, is going to be Secret Invasion.
Would that be Avengers 5 or would that be like their next build-up? Like how they've done with Thanos? You know, it wasn't just, okay, we showed them off in Avengers 1 and it's been a build-up. Do you think that would be Avengers 5 or, like I said, would that be their next build-up?
I don't know. See,
because I feel like this timeline, this universe going forward, while it is cool to have your one-off villains a la Ultron, a la, insert villain, I think where it succeeds is the build-up, because you remember the build-up to Infinity War, and it was going into Guardians of the Galaxy, going into Doctor Strange, going into Ant-Man, going into this, going into that. It was, all right, we've seen this stone, that stone, X, Y, and Z. Are we going to see this one? You think we'll see this one? Where do you think? It was like the build-up and the anticipation and the kind of expectations of what we were going to see for the build-up.
Maybe. And with this one, I think Marvel does a very good job of playing the slow build, and it works in their favor.
Yeah.
With Secret Invasion, they could say it that maybe just since the 1960s or whatever the original timeline, I guess, is with Ant-Man and the Wasp, that she was a Skrull the entire time.
Right.
And now she is evolved with powers. That I think is just plays onto where they're going to be going moving forward.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if anything comes from this or is hinted in this from when Captain Marvel comes out.
I think so too, because I think that now, obviously dealing with Captain Marvel, that it's going to be set that she is part of the Kree storyline with the space race there. that I think that obviously if you talk about Krees, Skrulls are usually in the mix.
Yep. And it is set in a time in the MCU where Tony's father is still alive, and folks from that generation of S.H.I.E.L.D. are still alive.
Yes. So that being said, there is a lot of wiggle room that could tie into it as well. And I think that if they decide to do it, which if you've never read the Kree-Skrull War, it is a long-time Avengers comic storyline that they've touched upon a couple times. I mean, obviously, at the time they wrote it, it was the first time I think that the Avengers, at least in my recollection, that have really got involved in a cosmic storyline.
Right.
So I think they would definitely do it. And obviously, when they did Secret Invasion, where Skrulls were secretly taking the place of some of our heroes and villains throughout the MCU, and the Wasp had a huge part in that storyline.
Right, and this would make sense for them to do it, given that while the Fox Disney deal is going to happen by the end of the year, they still don't have the rights. They still can't say the M word. They still can't show anything on screen outside of Scarlet Witch. You know, so while it's nice to think about what stories they can do and what this they can do and that can do, they can't wait until December. They can't wait until next year to start planning the stuff, writing the stuff, going through with this stuff, and what have you. You know, they've got to move forward. So I think while this is most likely the next big event they can build to, this is also the event where you can bring in the mutants and Fantastic Four and whoever else you want to bring in from what you're acquiring. Because something like, if in the logical buildup of things, every next villain is supposed to be bigger, at least in my mind. You know, if you got Thanos, then you look at it kind of like The Walking Dead. You look at early Walking Dead, you had Shane.
Yep.
Then it built into the Governor. Now it built into Negan. Now it's going to build into, into the next thing. It's always progressively worse. It's always progressively bigger. So in theory, the next thing bigger than Thanos would be, the Skrulls. It'd Secret Invasion, which would then tell me, okay, if you literally united the entire MCU hero universe for the most part, you would need to bring in even more.
Yeah.
So therein you bring in the X-Men, you bring in the Fantastic Four, you bring in the whoever else.
It would make sense because obviously if you're going to try topping Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet storyline, you got to come with some big heavy hitters. Secret Invasion was a popular storyline. I mean, albeit I don't think it was one of my personal favorite ones. I just think it had a great concept, but I don't think that the ending really kind of did it justice.
I think if they give it a modern twist to it or a modern take on it, I think it might work a little better.
I think it could, and I think it'd be kind of something very interesting that if she doesn't, like, let's say the Wasp doesn't know that she is a Skrull,
right,
and finds out, which
and plus I think if you want to put, if I had to like fan cast or something, if the next Avengers movie or whatever is Skrulls who are intergalactic, they are cosmic. They do have a director who already works with them who's been doing a couple intergalactic movies.
Break it down.
James Gunn. He would make the most sense for me to do a cosmic intergalactic focused Avengers movie.
I don't think he would do it just on the simple fact I think he loves doing the Guardians of the Galaxy too much that I don't think he would want to jump and do the Avengers. That's just my opinion. I mean, he could do whatever he wants. He's a great director.
He's James Gunn.
Yeah. So, but I think he's going to be so focused on doing Adam Warlock and that story that I just don't see him crossing over to do that per se. Plus, I think the Russos have done such a great job that I think that they kind of have an open slate if that's what they want to do.
That's true.
And I think that there's a lot of different ways you can go, especially if you get more characters involved in the MCU, a la Fantastic Four, X-Men, as soon as the deal is done. Then you can kind of grow from there because, like we said in previous episodes, after Captain Marvel and Avengers 4, we don't know anything else that's coming out officially.
There's been stuff talked that we know they're working on a Black Widow movie, but the date hasn't been given yet. We know they're working on a Spider-Man 2 movie. There hasn't been a date given yet. We know they're working on a Black Panther movie. The date hasn't been given yet. They're working on stuff, but they haven't told us when.
Yeah, exactly. And we're not.
And with no Hall H panel this year at San Diego Comic-Con, yes, they're doing the Marvel 10-year anniversary panel at Hall H in San Diego Comic-Con, but they're not unveiling any super secret trailers that you're going to have to watch bootleg foam videos of.
No, unless the only thing I can say that I'm just guessing, my unofficial ODPH prediction, they will name drop something.
They'll probably name drop something, but I think the biggest thing you're going to get out of that panel is, and I'm just guessing, I don't know anything, they'll probably do like a 10-year box set of Marvel movies because they haven't done anything like that, I want to say, since the end of Phase 1, where they did like the SHIELD steel briefcase that like had the Tesseract in the middle of it.
Yeah.
They haven't done anything like that since then.
Because now, especially with the quantum realm being heavily rumored to be tying into how everything gets solved in the MCU, if time is irrelevant and it's now powering people, it's kind of hard to say what direction they're going to go with it.
It almost seems like they have opened Pandora's box.
They have. And the only other thing I could think that they could go and use for the quantum realm is this is how they bring the Fox Marvel universe in.
That could be.
It's going to be something like they did with Heroes Reborn, where Franklin Richards created a pocket universe to save the save the Fantastic Four and Avengers from Onslaught.
Yeah.
I see them doing something like this with the quantum realm.
Okay.
And that's how they bring them all in.
I'll say something tells me that, and again, I don't know anything. Something tells me that when you start dealing with the quantum realm and you start messing around with stuff and stuff getting real loopy, things are not going to be left the same as when you went in.
No, and I think you're going to see if they really start tampering with that, and let's say that is something that Doctor Strange saw in his, what was it, 1 million versions of how to defeat Thanos, that I think that he saw something there, and it's going to tie in there, because they don't show the quantum realm in 3 movies for nothing.
And they don't keep name dropping it.
Yeah, there's got to be more of a tie to it. So I think going into it, I think that they could obviously go somewhere with Secret Invasion, and my gut feeling is that's the next direction they're going to go in.
I'd be all for it.
And I also think that this is how they bring the MCU, the Fox characters.
Yeah.
After the deal is done. It's going to be something done like Heroes Reborn, which is ironic that we're talking about that, because there was a footnote that I was thinking about too with another movie that I think Marvel might be doing.
Okay.
I think they're going to be doing a Thunderbolts movie.
Okay.
Now, if you don't know the story about the Thunderbolts, and albeit we're going to be talking about spoilers later in the show involving Batman 50, but this was arguably one of the last great surprises that didn't get spoiled on the internet.
Okay.
The story is that at this time, Fantastic Four and Avengers are gone in a pocket universe because of Onslaught.
Sure.
There's a new team that rises up of brand new faces, and they're doing heroic acts. They're stepping in the void that is left there by the Avengers.
You'd say they're stepping into Phyllis shoes a la when Superman, quote unquote, died.
Yes. And at the last page, we find out that they are led by Baron Zemo, and they are the Masters of Evil.
Oh, Lord.
Who are posing as heroes just to do it for mysterious reasons.
Sounds like something Lex Luthor would do.
It is, but as I'm looking on it, and their history is very different. I mean, how Kurt Busiek and Mark Bagley started the series to the different incarnations that have happened after.
Yeah.
Ghost is a member of the Thunderbolts in its last form, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
They still have Baron Zemo, who we believe is still I believe he's in jail from Captain America: Civil War.
If memory serves, yes.
If I'm not mistaken, and I have not read any official casting, is Moonstone in Captain Marvel?
I haven't seen anything to my knowledge about it.
They're kind of laying the groundwork for it. Now, I don't know what incarnation they're going in with it, but I definitely think that they might be going that direction. They do, instead of having Atlas involved in there, they could always use Goliath for that his role in the movie. Albeit, I think the only ones that have been left out from the original lineup have been the Fixer, has been Mach 1/Beetle, and Songbird/Screaming Mimi.
I'm looking at the cast list on the IMDb page for Captain Marvel. While there's nothing officially said there, there is a lot of actors who don't have a character name attached to their name. So, still possible.
It is possible, and if I'm not mistaken, that she is a somewhat rival of Captain Marvel. So, to be determined. But that was the only other thing that I really took away from Ant-Man and Wasp. And like we said, in closing for the segment, that was the little Easter eggs that I thought, you know what, I definitely see this possibly happen, more so with the Quantum Realm. But the more that I saw Ghost survived, is on the run with Goliath, they could be tying into it. Because if the Avengers, we don't know what's going to be the next incarnation of the Avengers.
Right, yeah.
After 4.
Everything's up in the air.
So let's say that they don't survive the Thanos onslaught. That they're missing. Could it be possible they go the Thunderbolts route?
Could be.
And obviously there is some tie-in now with the Quantum Realm, that's how they're going to be bringing in other characters, and that's going to be kind of the get out of jail free card, so to speak.
This is the oops, we messed up.
But I guess, Pat, in final thoughts, Ant-Man and the Wasp and what it means.
Definitely go see it. Like Ken said, it's a fun movie. It's a nice kind of breathe down after the crazy roller coaster ride that was Avengers Infinity War, but definitely worth the watch because it's fun to see, I know a lot of people were wondering what he was doing during Infinity War. Well, now I have your answer. But if you're a Marvel fan, definitely go see it.
I agree. Like I said, it's lighthearted. In my opinion, it's very Disneyized, but that's not a bad thing. It's just there's so much humor, but it plays to the strengths of Paul Rudd. And I think if anybody else was in the role, I don't think it would have worked as well.
No.
And I think that it's a lighthearted summer movie. It's definitely worth going to check out. If you're an old school comic book fan like myself, you could see that I just had a whole other segment breaking down 3 possible theories of what's going to happen tying into the Avengers. So this movie does mean something if you're an MCU fan. It's not going to be the profound epic that was Avengers Infinity War, but it is definitely worth your while to check out in the theaters this summer. That's all we got for Ant-Man. We're going to come back, talk a little Cloak and Dagger. When we come back, you are listening to the ODPH Entertainment Edition.
Hey, I'm Mike Pappy from Rye Bread, and you're listening to the ODPH.
Coming back for the third segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition, and we're talking our favorite new show,
Cloak and Dagger.
Absolutely, freeform, Thursday nights, 8 p.m. And this week's episode, definitely a lot of stuff is happening. A lot of stuff is starting to build. I definitely was more excited, though, for the final preview for next week.
Oh,
I know I'm jumping the gun, but
when you see a good preview, it's always exciting and it also sucks because that means you got to wait a week.
It is. But they're moving along with the storyline, and I mean, they have a lot of stuff that's going on right now. This episode starts off that Cloak's girlfriend, her aunt, I believe it's her aunt. That is the she's tying into like the voodoo aspect, is doing a reading about the city and keeps mentioning about how Cloak is part of the divine pair.
Okay.
That we've long heard rumored. Yep, the day and night. One will live, one will die.
That sounded like Harry Potter over here.
Yeah, it's really kind of interesting of how it's building there because, I mean, it was a slow backburn storyline that was going on.
Well, yeah, I would say voodoo is never something quick. It's always usually you got to get 8 different ingredients before you do anything.
No, and now the storylines are progressing. The Cloak is really trying to track down his brother's friend he's trying to get the job from now because he knows he has a connection to Detective Connors.
Mm-hmm.
And as he's going through, Connors is trying to cover his trails because Detective O'Reilly is now chasing him and really kind of sniffing around to what's going on. That there's now the connection is established between Connors and Cloak's brother's friend, that there is now a drug deal circuit that's going on.
Yep.
O'Reilly is getting involved and ruffling some feathers at the station. Meanwhile, Dagger, who is stealing the show every week, is portraying herself as an intern for Nina Hess, who's a Roxxon scientist, so to speak. And as the episode is progressing further, Dagger goes to Nina's place and is finding there's blueprints for the oil rig that blew up, and there's just some stories going on that apparently Nina's dad knew Tandy's dad, and is pretty much saying that, yeah, she knows it's a frame job too, she's not going into details. At the same time, the real storyline of this week's episode was Cloak and Detective O'Reilly almost blowing their covers, so to speak.
Whoops.
Because Cloak has been really trying to infiltrate Dwayne's gang.
Yep.
And he's really been trying to step up and get some answers about his brother Billy's death. And he basically tries infiltrating and frames I'm going to say delivery guy.
Yeah, that seems like the most accurate title.
To get his spot in the gang, because that's what Dagger is kind of advising. That she is just telling him, you got to do what you got to do to get in there.
Right, but it also seems like there's some piles of you don't want to step in because they won't get off your shoe. This seems like it might be one of them.
This is one, it's a very risky move for Cloak because he is really kind of jumping in without a net.
Yeah.
And he really is out of his element, and he really, I don't think, understands the gravity of the situation he's in.
So he's also going in with a little green, as they like to say. Absolutely.
So obviously when he goes in and he winds up following the delivery guy. He causes a scene where Connors and O'Reilly are now trying to work the beat to, dig up information on the so-called drug kingpin. And he acquires the delivery guy's bag with his product, shall we say.
Uh-huh.
And later, when the gentleman goes and confronts Cloak, Cloak uses his powers on him in one of the more unique ways I've seen, because it basically scares the guy to just run away in just sheer terror.
I mean, that seems like it'd be anyone's usual reaction.
Yeah, it was. And what I thought was more interesting is it kind of looked like there was somebody in the dream, like how the astral plane is like the dream sequence.
Yeah.
That was almost like watching them. And if I know my Cloak and Dagger history from the comics, I almost want to say it's the being that's inside the Dark Force dimension that Cloak uses as a vessel.
Yeah.
That I can't remember the exact name of the creature character. I want to say it's Predator. I'm not 100% sure without looking at the computer, but I'm going off that gut instinct that we finally saw that character appear, which is really interesting that they're going that far in the comics with it, albeit right now. But going into there, that Cloak goes and meets Dwayne and says, hey, I just got your bag back for you, and I want in. And Dwayne is just telling him, no, this is not meant for you, and you are not going to be involved in this. At this point, Detective O'Reilly and Connors show up because Connors has arranged a meeting to find out, okay, what's going on. At this point, Connors is doing a multi-setup of trying to get O'Reilly killed by Dwayne. And then who knows what's going to happen. So as they're building up, and I thought this was the best part of the whole episode, by the way, that they're slowly building up. Connors goes in there, he hands Dwayne a gun, and says, shoot O'Reilly when he comes walking in. Cloak at this point is hidden. He just Dwayne told him to get out of here before anything is seen.
Right.
At this point, Cloak is trying to call O'Reilly. She doesn't answer her phone. She walks in, sees a gun drawn, shoots Dwayne, kills him. Cloak yells at this point.
Yep.
Thus tipping off Connors, and now O'Reilly's kind of going, hey, something's going on. Connors is chasing him and shooting at him. Cloak is teleportating to dodge the bullets. So now he has exposed himself to Detective Connors.
So this is the point where things have gone sideways.
Yes, this is
in the worst way possible.
This is where it has just gone completely away from where I think Cloak was, trying to, handle the situation. To where Dagger at this point is now, she blew her cover with Nina Hess, and now she is basically coming clean about the whole reason that she's there, and is really trying to, I guess, sway Nina to her side. And she's also trying to talk to Nina's dad, who is comatose at this stage, where she follows Nina to where her dad is and uses her powers and is blocked from trying to see the hope. There's a door that she can't access, and it almost looks like Cloak's powers are involved, which hasn't been explained. But going by this, overall, it was a great episode, a lot of build-up. But the thing that got me more amped up, I guess, for next week is we're finally going to see them use their powers fighting somebody.
There you go.
Which has not happened thus far. It looks like there's a weird dream sequence going on where Nina's dad is trapped, and they both access his mind to go free him.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like we said before. Marvel likes to do their slow burns. They've definitely been doing one here in terms of using their powers, fighting somebody, but the payoff is going to be great.
The payoff is finally, getting there, because now they're finally using their powers. They still can't, connect, touch, shake hands. So there's still that going on, and there's the looming prophecy that Cloak's girlfriend's aunt is determining that the divine pair will save the city, but one will live, one will die. So we still don't know what that means. I mean, obviously everybody's thinking, okay, one of them is going to get killed off.
Yeah, Harry Potter references there.
Yes, but I'm not buying that aspect, though. I don't think that that's going to happen here. I don't know if it's just somebody else is involved and somebody else was rumored to be the pair. Like if it was originally supposed to be Cloak's brother.
Right.
Who, I mean, the storyline involving him now is slowly coming to light that Dwayne was involved in the shooting. I mean, he saw it and he knew what happened, but nobody would go turn against Detective Connors, who I'm still trying to figure out where his role is going to be.
Yeah, no, it'll be all interesting moving forward. I mean, I know I've seen a movie or two, and I've seen a TV show or two. Typically, when you hear or know of a prophecy and you try to stop it, it typically doesn't go well for you.
It doesn't, but it hasn't been officially ruled out that it's Cloak that's involved, or Dagger. Because at this point, the only thing that the aunt has seen is Cloak has like a figure that's on her mantle,
right?
That she's kind of, I don't know, using as like a focal point to find the energy that's coming to her about the city. I mean, it's still yet to be determined what's going on there, but I mean, they have three great storylines going on because with Dagger and what's going on with her investigation. And then this week when Connors is pulling the double setup on O'Reilly, who's now ruffling feathers down at the station, where Connors is trying to get her killed, so she stops asking questions, and Cloak, who is definitely in over his head.
Well, but
yes, is making for some great TV. And like we said before, Cloak and Dagger is one that flew under our radars, but we're definitely locked in right now.
Oh, no doubt about it.
And I tell you what, the music soundtrack is not let down. You need to go check that out. Definitely let us know what you think. And if you saw last week's episode, hit us up. Hashtag ODPHE. What's your thoughts on Cloak and Dagger? We want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Brian Wolf from Fair City Fire. You are listening to ODPH, the greatest podcast in Binghamton.
Woo!
Hot lips touching, cool thighs feeling, shudder running up, her spine spinning, long day to a long night, but I'm not stopping till I get it right.
Coming back for some one-shots to close out this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition. Pad, what you got?
Got a little bit of Star Wars rumored casting news. Of course, as I've said before, unless it comes from StarWars.com or Lucasfilm's own mouth, treat it with a grain of salt. It's not official yet. Rumor has it Star Wars Episode 9 is eyeing to add Carrie Russell to join its ranks. Of course, she worked with J.J. Abrams on 2006 Mission Impossible 3. She's been on works on The Americans, Mission Impossible, and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. So it looks like she might be joining a galaxy far, far away. I cannot take credit for who I think she should play because, of course, it's not known who she's going to play. It's not even official she's in the movie yet. But the one take I saw online that I instantly was all for her to play is a Knight of Ren. Of course, that's the group that Kylo Ren is supposedly the head of, that was mentioned in The Force Awakens, and we've yet to see or hear anything of them. I saw somebody online go, hear me out. She's the last surviving member, and it was a photo of the two of them together, and I was like, yes, I need this.
That would be something. I mean, I don't really know what character she's destined to play, but I think it's a very nice addition to the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
I mean, Carrie, as you've seen on her work on The Americans on FX, I mean, she's a great actress, so I think she can only help the show.
Oh, yeah.
So going forward with that, I think that she'll be a great addition to the Star Wars mythos.
Oh, yeah. She's got that previous work with J.J. Abrams, so he won't have any issues bringing her in and kind of bringing her into that fold.
Definitely. And Star Wars, I mean, how soon are we away from Episode 9?
Too long.
I was going to say.
Too long. It's December of next year. It's too long. That was the one issue when they said, oh, yeah, the Han Solo movie's coming out in May of this year. I was like, so that means we're going to have to wait a year and a half for the next one? Okay.
I know that's your timeline, so that's why I figured to ask you.
Too long.
Way too long.
Way too long.
So going into my one-shots, I have two this week. So one I touched upon a little bit last week, but I kind of want to get a little more further in depth with. And that was Batman 50 that came out.
Yep.
Now, I did get over to Sound Go Round and Vestal, so shout out to those guys, and got my copy. And one thing I was going to bring up, and I know, Pat, you're not an avid comic reader like myself.
Nope.
But going into movies and TV shows, rather, are you a fan of getting spoiled early by stuff, or do you want the general surprise when you get to see something?
Depends on the movie. I know for Deadpool 2, I knew some of the stuff going on with that movie going into it, and I really didn't have an issue with it. But when it comes to something like Star Wars, I will pay attention to a certain point when it comes to the Star Wars spoilers. I will look at some early set photos when they start filming, because by and large, you can't really tell anything from there. Like, I remember when The Last Jedi was being filmed, they were filming the casino scenes, and I was looking at those set photos because it's, generic enough that you can't tell what's going on. But there comes a certain point, especially with Star Wars, where I will just not read anything. And I will go so far as to, like, I've got a couple of friends online who know things and they know spoilers, and they'll say, all right, if you're looking to avoid spoilers, mute these words on Twitter, and they'll give you a list.
Fair enough. Because for me, Batman 50 was leaked out early for spoilers.
Right.
Now, this is the second time in a month that a comic story has been ruined by spoilers. X-Men Gold, I believe. It was the wedding of Kitty Pryde and Colossus.
Huh, interesting.
That
I must have missed that getting spoiled because I don't think I saw that until like the day it actually came out.
No, that got leaked out a little early.
Oh.
But with Tom King's run on Batman, which I've said before and I will say again, Snyder and Capullo put the fear into the Bat. Tom King has put the man into the Bat.
I see what you
And
did.
he's definitely given a lot of human storylines that I can't really remember seeing
Let's say,
in
when's
Batman.
the last time you saw Batman made human?
Honestly, the animated series, maybe?
Okay, yeah.
Maybe. Like, I have not seen it. I guess in the comic-wise, if you want to see him broken, and I guess if that brings him, I guess, back down to Earth from his mythical standpoint, was Nightfall.
Oh, so
when Bane broke him.
The only thing that comes to mind of him and his human aspect that comes to mind is Mask of the Phantasm, where he's ready to up and just drop the cowl for Andrea.
Yeah. And this has kind of been leading where King's story has been going. I mean, ever since he's taken over the book, and they've started with the New 52, and
Yeah.
he's been really kind of saying, okay, Batman is now recognizing his mortality, and is there life after Batman?
Right. I mean, you saw that in the one scene, I want to say it was maybe a year or two ago, where he was riding on top of the plane and like asking Alfred over intercom, would my parents be proud?
Yeah, this is Batman 1 with his I Am Gotham
Yeah.
storyline.
Yeah.
So now we fast forward, and his run has been incredible. His I Am Suicide, where he makes his own Suicide Squad.
That was nuts.
That was insane. And I Am Bane went all types of places, and one of the best Bane stories I've read. And then he decides to introduce the whole idea of now he wants to marry Catwoman. And the story that goes from there, I guess, is kind of unheard of because it shifted away from, okay, we're just going to focus on fighting bad guys and solving crime to I now have to reassess my life and what I want.
Right.
And what he wants is to be happy with the woman he loves, which is just something unheard of for Batman.
Because he's always been a type that I don't need anybody. I'm a loner.
Exactly. And just watching the reaction amongst the superhero friends he has been just amazing. It's just been such a great run.
I can just imagine Clark going, wait, you want to do what now?
It was no, they did cover that, and that was such. I don't even want to spoil it. Like, this is how much I truly think King's run has been incredible. And throw in the War of Jokes and Riddles, which has been his best work thus far. But going into this issue, it was spoiled that the wedding didn't happen. And I was kind of let down that, I mean, obviously you thought it was going to go 50-50.
Right.
But
Let's say it's a superhero wedding.
But I think when people heard this, they immediately tuned out of the story. I got a chance to read it. It's incredible. And is just basically taken from the standpoint of they write letters to each other, I guess, explaining, on their wedding day, because they decide they're just going to elope and do it, of what they mean to each other. And Catwoman's reason for, running from the altar made sense.
Yeah.
To a degree, because what she says is basically if Bruce Wayne is happy, there is no more Batman. And she is sacrificing her love and their relationship to make sure Gotham still has a Batman.
We'll say for everything Catwoman has been, hero, villain, anti-hero, thief, she knows what Batman is to Gotham, and I think she's no idiot. She's been at this for long enough. She's smart. She knows what'll happen if Batman leaves Gotham.
Yes, and in contrast, Bruce Wayne explains how much he needs Catwoman in his life to justify him. And he's not saying he's quitting being Batman, but he just explains it. And I mean, the issues prior to, especially when the Joker makes his appearance about the wedding, I mean, that's just issue 49 is worth picking up alone. But going with issue 50, which has some of the best pinup pages, because a lot of them some were used for variant covers, some are just standalone pages, and just how they write the letter sequence is incredible. The story, obviously, Catwoman is now going into her own book now. And it turns out that the person that she has been, I guess, a frenemy, I guess is kind of the cool way to put it, I believe it's Holly Robinson is the character's name, goes back to Arkham because she is tied to some crimes. And it turns out that all of the rogues that have been used in King's Run are sitting around saying the bat is finally broken.
Uh-oh.
This was the biggest twist of all for me, because you had the Joker, you had the Riddler, you had Bane, you had the Flashpoint Batman, which was explained, I guess, in the Booster Gold storyline. Yeah. Gotham Girl, who was explained from the first. It was such a tie-in to everything King has done thus far.
I've realized the Bat is very resourceful, and he's very smart, and he can hold his own. He's going to need help on this one.
This is going to take, I don't know what direction they're going to go in now. I've heard they're going to do a very cool Mr. Freeze story, which I don't even.
What killed the dinosaurs?
I've heard some things, but the biggest thing that I take away from this is, for being spoiled about the ending, it took nothing away from the work, and the book is incredible.
Because you could argue even the biggest thing in the book wasn't spoiled.
No, in my opinion, it wasn't, and especially I love how King came out and said this is only the midway point of a 100-issue storyline between Catwoman and Batman.
Which is just bonkers for a comic.
Amazing. Like, I am just an old school fan, and I appreciate long runs on comics. I mean, that's why I always say Snyder Capullo, they did 50 issues, and that was a lot. And I never wanted him to leave, and obviously they've came back a little bit, and with Dark Knight's Metal. But for King to have 100 issues planned out and the quality of work he's just generating, it's worth going to pick up. I can't wait to get the trade paperback because of all the variant covers I hope are included, because some of the greatest artists in comics have made some incredible pinup work for it.
And I know I saw the one for Frank Miller did for it in his kind of art style for Dark Knight Returns or Dark Knight Rises or whatever. That was really cool.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, I'm such an old school Jim Lee fan that, I mean, his work is just always knockout. And honestly, everything I've seen thus far for the variant covers have just been incredible. So I can't wait to get the trade paperback. I highly recommend the book, and if you can wait for the trade paperback to come out, which I believe is coming out in October, around Halloween.
Ooh,
yes,
good timing.
It's worth picking up alone. And if you got the chance to get some back issues, definitely go hit up your local comic book shop and go show some support to a great book that's getting done. And my last one shot, I have to end on a very somber note. Over the week, since the last episode, we found out that Steve Ditko, legendary creator and artist, passed away at the age of 90. He co-created Spider-Man and Doctor Strange with Stan Lee. His work is very well known through Marvel, and his DC work doing The Question, The Creeper, and Hawk and Dove 2 is just some notable names. Definitely a sad news to hear, and just, he lives on through his work, so we send our condolences to his family, friends, and fans.
Yeah, definitely one of the bigger names in Marvel history. Even if you don't know the name, you know the work. You know what he's done when you see it. So definitely thanks for everything you did, everything you contributed, including, people I know who Spider-Man is their absolute favorite character. There's somebody I know who doesn't go see many comic book movies at all, but when there's a new Spider-Man movie, she goes and sees it.
Yeah, and I thought Tom Holland did a very nice tribute to him as well.
Yep.
So definitely rest in peace to Steve Ditko. That's all we got for this week. So for Padawan J,
thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH Entertainment Edition. We'll see you next time.